Armies surrounded his tiny home. The giantess he saved knelt, smiling your order, ma.jpg. Beginning, the stranger in the storm. The rain came down in metallic sheets, hammering against the old tin roof of Elijah Crane's cabin. Out here, 20 clicks outside the perimeter walls of New Bastion, no one cared much about storms or wanderers. That suited Elijah fine. He'd left the city years ago, carrying nothing but his tools, a stubborn will, and the weight of things he would never admit aloud. He had chosen solitude. His little home was a squat wooden structure, barely standing against the endless winds that cut across the flats. He farmed a few hydrocrops, tinkered with scavenge tech, and hunted the stray ferals that crept too close. It was survival, quiet and deliberate. That night, though, the storm carried more than thunder. A flash of lightning lit the horizon, and Elijah saw something vast crumple into the mud, like a fallen tower. The ground quaked. His instincts screamed, "Don't go," but he found himself strapping on his rebreather, grabbing his rifle and trudging out into the gale. When he reached the wreckage site, he froze. It wasn't a tower. It wasn't even a mech. It was a woman, though woman felt too small a word for the being sprawled across the mire. She was colossal, at least 30 feet tall, her silver skin torn and smoking as if from battle. A giantess. Her hair, white as starlight, was tangled with debris. Her breathing came in ragged bursts. And on her chest was a wound glowing with a strange blue ichor, spilling into the stormwater. Elijah raised his rifle, but his finger faltered. She wasn't moving to attack. She was dying. Against his better judgment, Elijah knelt beside her massive hand. The fingers twitched, each as long as his arm. Then her eyes, two pools of molten silver, opened and locked onto him. "Small one," she rasped, voice like shifting stone. "Help me, or this world burns." Elijah cursed under his breath. "What the hell are you?" "Guardian," she whispered. "Betrayed, poisoned. I must stand again." Every instinct told him to walk away, to leave this problem for someone else. But he remembered another battlefield years ago, when he had abandoned people who needed him, and how their screams never left his mind. Elijah set his jaw. "Damn it. Fine. But you'd better not crush me." And so, he dragged what equipment he could, worked through the night, and did what he hadn't done in years, healed instead of destroyed. Middle. The giantess and the man. Her name, she later told him, was Vera. She was one of the wardens Titans engineered in forgotten ages to protect planets from outside invasion. But the other wardens had turned. A shadow faction called the Ascendancy had corrupted them, promised power beyond guardianship. Now, they hunted her. Elijah didn't trust all of it. But he couldn't deny the truth of her wounds, nor the orbital flashes he sometimes saw at night, ships locked in battles no human craft could survive. It took weeks for her to heal. During that time, Elijah learned to adapt his cabin for her needs, vats of nutrient slurry scavenged from old city depots, wound dressings stitched together from industrial sealant and plasma torch work. He worked tirelessly, even when exhaustion clawed at him. At first, Vera spoke little, conserving strength. But slowly, a bond grew. "You are strange for your kind," she said one dawn, as Elijah checked the ceiling on her shoulder plate. "Strange," he snorted. "You mean stupid. Most people would have let you rot out there. Not stupid. Defiant. You saw a war you could not win, and you chose to act anyway." He paused. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just tired of letting things die." For the first time, the giantess smiled. It was disarming, sharp, and gentle all at once. But peace never lasts. One evening, The sky cracked with thunder not born of storms. Dropships descended, engines screaming, soldiers pouring into the flats. The Ascendancy had found her. And Elijah's tiny home, his fragile peace, was suddenly the center of a siege. Hundreds of armored troops formed ranks around his cabin. Tanks rolled into position. From his doorway, Elijah watched with grim disbelief as the armies surrounded him. And then, as the dust settled, Vera rose to her knees behind his cabin, towering like a living fortress. Her wounds were not fully healed, but her eyes burned with molten fire. She looked down at him, lips curved into a smile. "Your order, my savior," she asked softly. The words froze him. The giantess who could shatter armies knelt, awaiting his command. The battle for the flats. The commander of the Ascendancy forces, a tall figure clad in obsidian armor, strode forward. His voice boomed through a loud hailer. "Human, the construct you harbor belongs to us. Surrender her, and we will let you live." Elijah spat into the dirt. "That's generous. But I'm not much for surrendering." A ripple of unease passed through the soldiers as Vera rose slightly taller, silver hair whipping in the wind. Elijah looked up at her, heart pounding. "You said the world burns if you fall, right?" "Yes." He tightened his grip on his rifle. "Then we don't let you fall. We stand. Together." The first wave came with deafening fury, artillery shells, plasma fire, and missiles streaking through the storm. Vera raised her arm, a shield of glowing lattice unfolding from her bracer. The blasts slammed against it, shattering into harmless sparks. She moved like a mountain brought to life, swatting tanks aside, crushing squads beneath her massive fists. Elijah darted through the chaos, using his intimate knowledge of the land. He triggered traps he had set for ferals, explosives buried in mud, electrified snares, turning them against the soldiers. At one point, 3 Ascendancy troopers cornered him. Elijah thought it was over, but Vera's hand swept down like a wall, shielding him from gunfire. Her voice thundered. "No one touches him." The battle raged for hours. The plains burned. Smoke and fire painted the horizon. But slowly, the Ascendancy line faltered. Their numbers dwindled against the combined fury of man and Titaness. At last, only the obsidian-armored commander remained. His voice dripped contempt. "You waste your strength, Warden. You kneel for a human when you could rule worlds. You disgrace your kind." Vera's silver eyes glowed brighter. "I kneel because he chose to save, not to rule. That is strength you will never understand." And with one final strike, she brought him low, ending a new order. When silence finally fell, Elijah's cabin was half destroyed, his land scarred. Yet he was alive. And so was she. Vera knelt again before him, her massive shadow falling across the smoking battlefield. "What now, Elijah Crane?" she asked, her voice quieter now, almost tender. "You have given me life again. I am yours to command." He looked at the devastation around him, then back at her enormous, expectant form. "I don't want a servant. I don't want armies or power. I just don't want to stand alone anymore." Her smile was radiant, weary but genuine. "Then I will stand with you. As guardian, as ally, perhaps more." From that day, stories spread through New Bastion and beyond. They spoke of a lone man in the flats, whose home was once surrounded by armies, and of the giantess who knelt before him, smiling, awaiting his word. Together, they would face greater battles, storms of war yet to come. But in that moment, amidst the ruins of fire and thunder, Elijah finally felt the weight of solitude lift. For the first time in years, he believed the future might hold more than survival. It might even hold hope.